Hello and welcome to yet another edition of Tea with the Duchess with me, your fabulous hostess, the Duchess. And today is a very special one because I've got a very special young man in the studio today. And we're going to be talking about the future of young Africans in the world, and basically I think he is the best person to talk about this issue. So welcome, or join me in welcoming Dayo Isreal, who is a special representative to the United Nations. Welcome, Dayo Isreal.
Thank you, Duchess. I really feel privileged to be on your show. I have watched almost every episode of your show, and finally I get to be on there, and that's really impressive for me.
Oh, thank you very much. I know I introduced you as the special representative for United Nations, but I know you obviously have so many other titles. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Introduce yourself properly to our audience.
My name is Dayo Isreal. I like Duchess. Anyways, actually, I find it very shy I'm a shy person. People don't think I'm a shy person.
I don't believe you.
To talk about myself, but I do a lot of stuff. I speak. I'm a public speaker. I'm a trainer. I'm a facilitator. One of the things I love doing most is I'm an advisor to government and world leaders. I've had the privilege of addressing, advising, or interacting with various heads of government, heads of state, at least 97 in the last 10 years, including the Queen of England and Nelson Mandela, and a few other world leaders. And I have a very strong passion in engaging leaders. That's one of my greatest passions, in engaging leaders to be able to promote the betterment of the people. I believe, like the American Declaration of Independence, that every human being is born with inalienable right, among which is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And I think the government forms the basis of the institution to provide that and provide a society and a continent that is free, that is fair, and that protects its people and gives people the right to be able to pursue happiness. And so one of my greatest passions is to engage government and engage government leaders in different capacity to promote the welfare of the people.
Wow, and that's quite a lot. But I know today you're here to talk about young Africans. Obviously, we know what's been happening around the world. Obviously, most recent with the Woolwich killing, and there's so many things, and a lot of the governmental agendas these days are all focused on what do we do with these young Africans. So what is your opinion about that?
I think we need to go back to the drawing board and understand what role that young people play in the society. So let me give you an example. In Nigeria, statistics shows that about 70% of Nigerian population are under 35, which is the bracket of young people. So look at it from that angle for a start. Now, I was talking with the Commonwealth Secretary General about 3 days ago, and he said he went to a country and he landed in the country and decided to meet with the Minister of Women Affairs and Gender and Youth and also speak with the president. When he was speaking with the president, he asked a question. I said, how many percent of your population are young people? And he said about 70% as well. So largely, many countries of the world, they have 70% young people. Now, people get into such countries. You land in the airport, you meet all the elderly by the border. You go into town, you meet all the elderly, and you think you're looking at an adult country, but you're looking at a country largely populated by young people. So if we form the basis of the biggest number of the population, we are meant to be significant in what happens to the country because it's really about us. And we also are important in the future of the country. So if you look at it that way, young people play a very strong and vital role in the development of their country. Now, beyond that, leaders need to begin to see youth as a resource, as a solution, not the problem, as value, not challenge. We're not statistics. We're not objects. We're not just numbers. We're significant force in the population. Look at it. Look at Facebook. Look at MySpace. Look at many of this social networking site. They were innovated by young people. Innovation lies in the heart of young people. A lot of resources, economic resources, social resources. So government needs to begin to look at that angle in terms of engaging young people. So when you understand the value and the resources that young people provide to your economy and to your people, you then understand how to be able to deal with them. So you understand how much budget you should be put into education. You understand how much budget you should be put into social welfare. You understand that rather than cutting the investment in youth centers, you can actually look at other things, cut the funding you give into military interventions and weapons but put more into young people, because we're a solution, not a problem. And there's a lot of resources that young people would do. Now, if you can get it right with the youth, you can get it right with crime. If you provide better services for young people, you decrease the level of crime and the crime rate in your country, your community, and your society. You can also improve on the level of enterprise development in your community and boost your economy when you promote innovation and enterprise among young people. So youth remains an asset. We need to invest more in young people. We need to fight poverty by investing in children and young people. We need to educate every child. We need to leave no child out, and that's very important.
So, how do you think the government will go about engaging young people? Because I remember a time when I used to do a lot of youth work, and I was in a meeting. I had to be a meeting with the Met Police and some other leaders were there, and they had so many agendas. And then when it got to young people and youth crime, nobody had a single opinion. Nobody had a single input. They didn't know what to do. You could tell that they were genuinely confused. They didn't know the way forward. So what advice would you give to the government or anybody watching about engaging with young people?
I think, for example, the government needs to begin to strengthen the youth parliament in their countries and the children parliament in their countries. That's one. They need to also support youth councils in their various countries. That's two. They need to also look for a way to invest in youth-related initiatives. Let me say categorically for every young person listening to this interview that it begins with you. I was raised by a single mother. I have every reason to give an excuse. My father died when I was 11. You know, we have every reason to give an excuse. But see, if you live by excuse, you're never going to achieve the best of your potential. Everybody was born with inalienable right, among which is life. So you have life. Enjoy it. Stop She just continued, and we continued to give our best to every opportunity given to us. It wasn't because we got to the platter of gold. My mother would say to you, study or die. But we didn't just live on study. We begin to understand what purpose do we have inside of us. Yeah. What can we tap into? The scripture, I'm a very, very scriptural person. And the Bible says that we have this treasure in earthen vessel. You've got to find your treasure. You've got to find what is inside of you that makes the best out of you. There's something about you. There's something different with you. Find your treasure. Pursue it. Keep digging deep. One day you will find water. I can promise you. If you keep digging and digging and digging and digging in deep to find your treasure, one day you will hit gold.
Wow. That's very deep.
And you must never give up. Society will tell you what they think that you can achieve. And I know many people who grew up where I grew up. The family just went to school. They couldn't get admission to university. They were struggling to go to university. Maybe they got a job or they became a mechanic or this and that. Or they just barely got by. There were some too who went to school, went to do a master's, went to do a degree and live abroad. You know, but even in that area where we were living in Lagos mainland, in Ebutimeta, while growing up, despite the obvious deprivation around us, we kept on aspiring to be the best. At 16, I was already addressing over 51 leaders at the UN in New York. At 21, 22, 23, also, I had already met the Queen of England. Not just meeting at where she was driving by and people are waving. No, she personally wrote to invite me to Buckingham Palace for drink. You understand? Who would have taught a child raised in a Butemeta in Lagos by a single mother? You understand? Yeah, no, one day, Paris. In less than 6 months of moving to Britain, I was already being invited to the town hall for an award by the mayor of London. Not the mayor of the borough, the mayor of the city of London. You understand? I became, to the glory of God, the first African Student Council Chair in London Metropolitan University. I sat on the University Academic Board. I sat on the Research and Development Committee of the university with my Vice Chancellor. Why? Because I realized that life will never give me what I deserve. It will only give me what I demand of it.
And I have to congratulate you on your recent, you just made the...
Africa's top 30 most inspirational young person.
Yeah.
I find it a very rare privilege and honor and very humbling. It's not just Nigeria. It's top 30 most inspirational young person in Africa. And to think that this young boy that grew up in Kano Street, in Igbebutemeta, lost his father when he was 11, will make the list of Africa's top 30.
Wow.
I find it very humbling. I find it very honoring. And that is to say to people, you have no excuse and there is nothing that you cannot achieve. There is no limit to your growth, to your progress, to what you can become in life. Who told you you can't do it?
True.
Who told you that you can't be on BBC, on CNN? I was on CNN at 16. Who told you you can't make the
Actually
best
saw
of
that
luck?
video of you. You look so young.
You understand?
Yeah.
I finished that interview on CNN and I went back to our house in Ebutemeta on Kano Street.
Wow.
I had just finished meeting prime ministers in Japan. I went for the World Water Forum in Japan some years ago. I left that meeting in Japan. I went back to our house on Ebutemeta Kano Street because where you live does not determine the ability for you to rise.
True.
You understand? I met Mandela in New York. We hugged each other. We had finished talking. I went back to our house on Kano Street, a room and a parlor.
Yeah.
And today, to the glory of God, we have our own place, blessed and highly favored with our pets. And, we live the life that we desire to the glory of God, despite where we came from.
So what words, obviously, you can't come here and just go without actually talking about the Africans, young Africans in diaspora, especially in UK. Obviously, a lot of them, we've had so many killings, get into trouble, and just, get on the wrong side of the law, and so many things happening that are not really, obviously, how we're supposed to be behaving as Africans. So what words do you have for any young African in diaspora watching this?
I've always lived in the diaspora for a decade now. I've lived in Britain for about a decade as well. So I'm a young Nigerian.